big news come out of the New York Giants this week is star running back Saquon Barkley potentially up for a trade or maybe some other options moving away from the New York Giants. Miles, what's the story there?
Yes, Nick. Barkley on the last year of his deal reportedly is not getting an extension, and Joe Schoen, GM of the New York Giants, yes, that is how you say his name. It's Shane. We checked, but he has said everybody is on the table for trade offers. Although he said it is unlikely that Barkley is going to be traded, that doesn't say that he's not available to be traded. And I think this is very interesting. Barkley, who was hurt last year, he actually was tied as the leading rusher of the Giants. Him and Devontae Booker had 593 rushing yards apiece. Very odd that they had exactly the same amount of rushing yards. But nonetheless, Barkley was once the premier running back in the draft and his first year or so in the league. He was an electric playmaker, but as always, these running backs, they get hurt. They go through the dregs of recovery, rehab, getting benched, all this, that, the third, and they always seem to slow down. It happens a lot with a lot of different running backs, and Barkley seems as if he is slowing down. So this might be a good time for the new GM to come in and say, hey, we got a running back. We're not going to pay him a ton of money. Let's see what we can get for him. What do you think, Nate?
So I think two things stick out at me with what Shane is doing here. The first is that the Giants, for a long time, with the Mara family running the show, kind of ran a little more family-oriented football team. And what I mean by that is look at what happened with Eli Manning. They stuck with Manning for a long time after it had gone from being good to average to pretty bad. But they kind of respected the time he spent with the team, and they wanted to treat him right on his way out. They were more focused on trying to do that kind of thing instead of maybe what's going to drive wins. And what drives wins in today's NFL is managing the salary cap, making sure you're not overpaying for positions that aren't as valuable as they used to be. And like you said, the big position in today's NFL that's, definitely not as valuable as it used to be is running back. Saquon Barkley at one time, phenomenal talent. I still think he has the potential to be a star player in the NFL. The guy can do it all and is a highlight machine. But the fact of the matter is running backs, even good ones, productive, healthy ones, aren't worth the money. Look at Ezekiel Elliott, and before that with Todd Gurley. They were superstars. They get a few years older, they start getting banged up, and suddenly those contracts just really hurt those teams. And it just becomes an albatross as those teams try and work around them, because those are big deals with money you can't get back for a number of years, as there's so much dead money and the signing bonuses just weigh on the salary cap. This is really smart here by Shane. He's also sending a message. That's my second point, is that it's not the same old Giants. Is that like you said, it didn't just mention Barkley. Everybody's potentially on the table. No matter your connections with, the Maras may love you, the Giants may love you, maybe a Giants guy, and this probably goes even beyond players. This could be coaches, guys in the scouting department, things like that. It says, look, this is a new era. We're driven by analytics. We're driven by making football related decisions on how to win games today. Remember Dave Gettleman, who would kind of like draft linemen just because his head was like, hey, I just want to draft a big, tough guy. It was kind of his mindset. There just seemed to be no rhyme or reason to it. Shane is sending a message throughout the entire organization that there's a new method and new process that's driving the Giants organization. And it's going to be about the data. It's going to be about analytics, and it's going to be about modern football.
That's right, Nick. And now let's pretend Barkley is on the trade block. I have 3 places where I think Barkley can make a good fit. Okay. Firstly, I would like to denote that I think the future of running backs in the NFL is something that has been happening a lot recently, is running back by committee, okay? I think that's a very successful way teams use running backs. You look at Baltimore, who did it more successfully 2 years ago with J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, and Mark Ingrams. You see San Francisco 49ers have always had a ton of running backs that they would rotate in and out, especially during their Super Bowl run. The Saints back in the day, Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, all kinds of teams have had success by having a couple different running backs to spell each other consistently. More notably, the Cowboys did it with Ezekiel Elliott and Pollard. Great combination there as well. So the first option I have is a team who has a really good breakout running back in Devin Singletary, the Buffalo Bills. They could get a more dynamic pass catching back who isn't as much of a bruiser, hard-nosed runner as Singletary is. And Barkley, what do you think about that fit?
So I think it's a good fit. And I think going running back by committee with what Barkley can bring to the table is kind of where the Giants went wrong. They try to make him be, their bell cow. He's going to have a lot of carries, a lot of receptions, a lot of touches. And we've seen the injuries pile up. I think going somewhere like Buffalo, where he does not have to be the predominant ball carrier, he can split time or even be, second in line and still take advantage of his talents, do a lot receiving the football. The Bills obviously like to spread it around. I think it's a really, really good fit for Barkley. And it's a way to keep him healthy too. He doesn't have to worry about 25, 30 touches a game.
Yes. And then I think a second option I have here is one that I've named a little bit ago in my diatribe. And that is the San Francisco 49ers, a team who notoriously loves a running back by committee approach. I think they're a little shorthanded on running backs after last season and this offseason. So I think Barkley comes in here, $7 million salary for Barkley isn't too much for you to pay to get a really good dynamic running back in this backfield.
Yeah, I like that too. I think San Francisco is an interesting fit just because, like you said, they've kind of had a stable, but they've also been devastated by injuries at the running back position. People forget Deebo Samuel started playing more running back almost out of necessity. He was obviously a wide receiver first before he started getting more reps at that position. I think San Francisco is a great fit for really two reasons. The first is that the return game. Barkley hasn't had a chance to do a lot of returning in the NFL because he's had to be the Giants' primary running back. The 49ers notoriously have been bad on special teams the last few years. Barkley gives them an immediate upgrade at that position. Number two, like you said, Barkley comes relatively cheap. The 49ers have Trey Lance, assuming they trade Jimmy Garoppolo. So they're going to have plenty of cap space to get these solid veterans on these, 1 year, 2 year deals to try and make a run this season. So with those 2 points in mind, I think the 49ers could be a great fit it's really a better fit for the 49ers than it is for Barkley because Barkley won't get a lot of touches. It's certainly not as many as he'd get in Buffalo, but I think it would be really a big win for San Francisco if they were able to acquire him.
And third and finally, I think the Miami Dolphins are probably one of the best fit for the team and for Barkley to shine because the Dolphins really don't have anyone like super great in their backfield. You got Duke Johnson, Myles Gaskin, and Phillip Lindsay in the backfield. I think Barkley can come in and make an immediate result there. And Mike McDaniel, who is a Kyle Shanahan disciple, now the new face in town, can use Barkley to his fullest extent and try to fit this in as a nice little running back by committee like we've been talking about so much. What do you think about this?
So anything where you can get any offense where you can get Barkley into situations where he's just got to make one cut or make one guy miss and he's off to the races is huge. In any kind of Kyle Shanahan offense where they do the wide zones with the bootleg off of it, a good running back can make those cuts and then it's off to the races. We've seen that with Samuel. We saw that with Matt Prada. We saw that, a few years ago. We saw that with Elijah Mitchell with San Francisco. It's a great fit. That offense with Barkley is kind of tailor-made for him. So whether it's San Francisco or Miami, I think both would be great options for Barkley for that reason.